Have you ever wondered how a zombie apocalypse in Minecraft would look? Then join me as I play through the modern zombie apocalypse mod pack called Cursed Walking. It has its very own custom map with new and improved zombies, modern weapons and gear, as well as its own storyline. So stay tuned to see if I'm able to find a vaccine to get rid of the zombie infestation and save humanity. And before we get into it, allow me to go over a few things. The mod pack, Cursed Walking, is free to play. However, the map is only available if you become a subscriber to the mod creator on Patreon, and it is only available for the 1.16 version of the mod pack. And I have played this mod pack on a normal world on the 1.20 version for a little bit. It's only enough to get my tip wet really. So a lot of this was new to me and it was a fun experience, but enough yapping and let's get to it. And when I spawned into the world, I was already equipped with some basic gear like a pistol with very little ammo, a gas mask, and a few scraps of food, but no water. So I immediately searched the nearby crates to find some iron and an iron knife. Moving into the hallway, some more crates gave me some ammo and even some unpurified water and canteens. Then I headed back to the spawn to remove the permanent night vision I somehow had. I know it's not from me eating enough carrots in my lifetime. I also remember when I first loaded into the map to see if it worked that it was actually nighttime, so I prayed upon whatever god there could be possibly left in this miserable world to make it nighttime, and it actually happened. But before continuing, I snatched a nearby axe off the wall and peered into the next room, which was riddled with infected. But just because the undead lacked critical thinking, that doesn't mean I do, so I was able to block off the entryway and able to funnel them into a single point where I was able to cure them of their virus. And there are different difficulties that you can select for the mod pack, and of course tailor to your liking to provide the most pleasurable or unpleasurable gaming experience. And by default, natural health regen is turned off, so I went ahead and turned that back on. Now that that was settled and the next room was clear, I went further into the building and boarded it off so I could see what this room had to offer. I was able to find lots of unpurified water, and I didn't quite understand water purification yet, but I eventually found out that you had to use a furnace to boil down the water in order to make it safe to drink. I continued through the building, still using the strategy of boarding off rooms and clearing them out one by one. I was reintroduced to how scary baby zombies are, but I continued to clear out all the zombies and once again showed off my superior intellect by closing the door in front of their faces, and now I was out of their sight and out of mind. And with everything on the side of the building explored, I headed back to the main area and was greeted by some zombies, so I ran upstairs for safety. I was confused as how they were in here, but I figured out later that it's because of a very simple reason. This is still Minecraft, so if an area isn't properly lit up, mobs will still spawn, but in this case it will only be zombies. And now stuck upstairs with no food left, I had to resort to eating zombie flesh, and I hated every second of it. The worst part was it only seemed to make me more hungry. I also drank unpurified water, which also made me more thirsty. Things were seeming to be starting off well, and I hoped this wasn't going to be a common theme. After enough cowering, I decided it was time to deal with the zombies, so I did just that. Afterwards, I made my way into the unexplored nearby room, which hosted some more unpurified water and some bread. That bread would have really hit the spot a few minutes ago. I then chopped some wood down from the trees outside and dealt with any straggling zombies while doing so. After acquiring enough wood, I quickly headed back inside and made some planks, which I then turned into a crafting table. First, I made a wooden pickaxe to dig up some cobblestone to upgrade my pickaxe and also make a furnace. And now I was able to purify water for some safe drinking and even fill up my canteen with it. I placed all my extra items into the chest and only took the essentials as I was now going to head out into the city to explore. The first building was a restaurant, and to my surprise there was actually a good amount of food left in there, and I only grabbed some as I didn't have enough space yet to take everything. I explored the nearby buildings, which were a house and a farm. There wasn't anything special in either of them, and I was only taking the necessities. There was also a nearby gun store. There was a passcode protected door in there, and since I didn't know the passcode, I just broke it down. But there was nothing behind there anyway. But in some unprotected crates nearby, there was a Glock and some ammo for it. I continued to explore all the buildings that I came across until I found a neighborhood with a house that I liked. I decided to evict the current tenant and afterwards clear the house out of anyone else. While doing so, I got jump scared. They knew damn well what they were doing when building this. And then I got jump scared again when clearing out the neighbor's house. And it was a little embarrassing for me because I'm usually pretty good with horror and don't get jump scared too often. Now if you notice that when the baby zombie hit me, they actually gave me a status effect. Something this mod pack introduces is the ability to get infected from a zombie. You only have 5 minutes to cure yourself, and if you don't turn into a zombie. The only way to cure it is from eating a golden apple. Once again, I don't want such punishing gameplay mechanics, so every time I get infected, I will just use a console command to get rid of it. My rationale for this is I'm actually immune to the virus, and that's the whole reason why I'm in the city trying to get to the bottom of the new plague. And with that explained, I'm back in my newly acquired house and I made a little storage area. That way I could empty my inventory and be able to take everything I come across. And this video was supposed to have a lot more of me in-game reading everything and just voicing my thoughts, but somehow my audio wasn't properly being recorded. The audio was only in one ear at times, and I'm so sorry for that. I was hoping to make this improvement, but hopefully next video. But back to exploring. I was able to come across my first backpack, which of course allowed me to take more items with me before returning home. What I didn't know is that this would eventually turn into a serious problem. I would end up bringing too many backpacks with me and it would be a massive hassle to unload everything. But I went back to any previously explored buildings to grab what was left behind. I also made a slight improvement to my current backpack to carry more items. And while exploring, I came across yet another diary. This time showing the thoughts of someone who had just been bitten, expressing the terrifying reality that they are going to end up a zombie. I've been bitten. I can't do anything but throw up in the bathroom. Am I turning into one of them? No, I don't want to. I'm scared. Help. I am dying. The rest of the book is soaked in blood. The ink of the pen scribbles down to the bottom of the page. A lot of exploring was done during this playthrough and I honestly enjoyed doing so. Everywhere was pretty detailed and it felt both immersive and fun. Of course, I'm not going to go over everywhere I went unless it was noteworthy. There was one house though that was pretty intriguing to me. It contained a secret room that I accidentally stumbled across. I destroyed these bookshelves based off of a gut feeling and it led to a room that had various ammo and a high damage sniper that I used. There's also a mod that introduces something called lunar events, and in this case it is a blood moon. This makes mobs spawn more frequently and closer to the player, and you are unable to sleep through this event. I wanted to get home anyway to empty my inventory, and this gave me a perfect reason to hurry up, but I had some difficulties getting into the house. I later found out the reason why, and since I couldn't get in through the front door, I had to tower my way up to my roof to get in, but when I was inside, I was not safe. I was immediately swarmed by zombies and I was on the verge of death. I didn't say one word during this. My butthole was puckered up the entire time. I thought this was for sure going to be the end of me. Only after I cleared the swarming zombies and blocked off the room did I let myself react. How was everybody able to get into my house but me? I luckily managed to survive and made my way to the stairwell of my house, putting down what seemed to be an endless amount of zombies, and after a good 5 minutes of constantly slaying zombies, there was still more crowding the stairway, so I looked outside and there were still so many more zombies just waiting to get their hands on me. But I had to keep going. Eventually, I was able to buy myself enough time to go downstairs and able to get into my storage room. There, I was able to make iron armor and make myself some more weapons to fight back with. And when there was an opening, I capitalized on it, and I managed to block off the doorway to prevent any more zombies from coming in. And after that whole ordeal, I wanted to check my statistics for zombies I slain, and it was over 150, and a good 100 of that probably came from the last 10 minutes. And I spotted some buildings on the mountain nearby, so I naturally went ahead to check them out. And on the way, I found a campsite area, and if I wasn't careful enough, my quest to cure the zombie apocalypse could have been in real early.
The fuck was that? Like a booby trapped bed or something? What is that?
And avoiding death once again, we continued onwards. This area would come to be important later on, but as of right now, it was no use to us, so let's just forget about it for now. But this wasn't a complete waste of time because traversing the hill allowed me to realize that auto jump was on and I went ahead and turned it off. Now I would be able to control my character the way I intended. And from my house I spotted a big building with what looked to be a radio tower on the top of it, and that seemed interesting enough, so that's where we were headed next. And inside the building there was a ton of valuable resources just waiting to be taken. There was ammo and weapons, tons of iron and tons of nourishing food. But most importantly, on the rooftop we found a corpse who left us a book and quill, and this was the start of the main quest line. I found this spot a few days ago. Surprisingly, no one else has found it yet. I keep telling myself I should go back down, but things keep getting worse. The volcano eruption, then this. They have to be connected, right? I don't know. I guess the place to find out would be the hospital, but it's also the worst there. Maybe I'll just wait it out. It should blow over soon. So with some new information learned and a proper goal now set in place, I used the rooftop to look over the city and try to find this hospital that they spoke of. But even after increasing my eyesight, aka my render distance, I still couldn't see this hospital, so I was just gonna have to do some exploring on my own. After some time, I did manage to find the hospital, but I didn't know how challenging exploring it would prove to be, so I decided to do more exploration with the hopes of acquiring better gear, and on the quest to do that, I found a house that I like more than where I was currently living, and after checking it out, I decided this was going to be where I live from now on. Plus, it was closer to the hospital and near more unexplored area. So I took some time to make my new house a home. First thing I wanted to do was turn the attic into my storage and crafting area. Then I came downstairs to remove all of the developmental issues due to neglect, much like your childhood. I added some crates to the kitchen for all of my food items. Then, of course, I had to empty out my backpack and inventory and go transfer all of my items from my old house to this one. I also chopped down some birch trees so I could add blinds to the windows. That way zombies couldn't see in and wouldn't crowd around outside. So I took some time to organize my chest because I just threw everything in there haphazardly. I also took some time to place some light around my new house to prevent any zombies from magically spawning. I grabbed an extra weapon as well as some ammo for it. I didn't feel the need to grab any extra food as I already had 20 cheeseburgers and those were pretty nourishing for just one of them. Afterwards, I headed to the hospital. And once inside, I blocked off the entrance so any outside zombies couldn't impede. I'm still using the strategy of blocking off rooms and exploring them one by one. Now, I don't know if the number of zombies inside the hospital was intentional or not, but there were a lot of zombies inside to deal with. And from the hospital storage room, I was able to get some health potions as well as some uncooked food if I ever ran out of my cheeseburgers. And in the patient's room, I took these room dividers to decorate my house, and I also stripped the hospital of some of their blinds. And there were some passcode protected doors that I was able to make my way through without knowing the passcode for. We also found another diary. Diary entry 1. I'm not one to write my thoughts down, but with how crazy things have gotten, I don't know, maybe it will help with the stress. Entry 2. Things have gone from bad to worse. The city is all but closed down. Fear is running rampant. I've talked to my parents on the phone. They're worried about me, but I'm just glad they aren't here. Entry 3. We haven't left the lab in days, and things have gotten real quiet. The anxiety is killing me. And continuing to progress through the hospital, I made my way to a flooded room, and in it I found a powerful gun as well as its ammo, along with some nice chocolate and yet another book. Data analysis 267. Same results, we haven't made any progress. People are counting on us, and so far we have delivered nothing. Afterwards, just a little further in the room, I found a book that gave us more information to progress the storyline. We're leaving tomorrow. Encounters with the infected have skyrocketed in the last few days. The military has arrived, although it seems things have only gotten worse since they showed up. I know we were supposed to develop a cure here, but we just don't have enough people, not enough equipment neither. There's been rumor about a secret lab underground somewhere. I suppose I should stop by the old farmhouse and ask Kenneth about it. He might know. Proudly rumor though, there's been a lot of that going around. If there is a lab, I'm not sure it will help or hinder us, but I think it would be worth checking it out. And there was a zombie trapped in their cold storage room. He was just standing there menacingly, so I decided to play it safe and use my sniper for the first time. This put him down quite easily though. He had a backpack that I took for my own use, and inside were his documented final words. These are probably my final words. I was bit by those things. I can't describe them, but they seem to have infected me. Michael locked me in here and will not open the door. Goodbye. I continued to explore the rest of the hospital and found a book that would come in very useful later on, so I'll leave that reading for when we get there. I continued to the roof, and there I found a helicopter with no fuel, another backpack, and the thoughts of the person that locked the guy in the freezer. Dear Diary, I don't know what's going on. Everyone is acting strange. Someone in the hospital attacked a nurse and I am confused. They are coming. I hear them. My friend Charlie was bit, so I locked him in the freezer. I think if you are bit, you are infected. I I don't know. Day 2. I'm up on the roof now. Charlie had the gun and he's in the freezer. All I have is a crossbow. They can hear me. One of them is punching now. And with that being said, I was now done with the hospital, so I made my way back home. And once home, I of course had to put away all the items that I took from my most recent journey. I then made a mine beneath my house because I needed cobble for a furnace, because due to constant use, my water canteen was now unpurified, and the only way to salvage that was through charcoal filters. I then wanted to go to the sewer system to progress the storyline. I found it before by accident, but now that I was actively looking for it, I could not find it. But after doing some loops around the neighborhood, I was able to find it again. And now down in the sewer, there were a lot of zombies just waiting to eat me alive. They were tired of feasting on sewer rats. I managed to burrow my way into one of the walls and easily defeated zombies from there. But I had a few close encounters with baby zombies, but it turned out alright. And using my gun to clear out the horde of zombies only seemed to attract more of them, so I decided against using it. And this is where I finally put it together that zombies still spawn based off of normal Minecraft logic, because I watched a zombie spawn right out of thin air in front of me. I investigated every inch of the tunnel and picked up any valuables that managed to make their way down here somehow. I also found Dr. Puck Yu in his hiding place, which he regrets. But I could not find this lab that was spoken of. It was not here, so I headed home to recoup and think about what to do next. I didn't do too much thinking and instead got sidetracked the next time I logged on. I somehow had a beacon. I'm not entirely sure where I got it from, but I made use of it as a way to easily find my house at the nighttime. After that, I still didn't think about how to solve the dilemma I was in. Instead, I opted to do some more exploring. Inside a gun store, there was a chest that was locked unless you had the password, and I simply couldn't break the chest this time around, so I was forced to find it. But thankfully, they mentioned that it was lost somewhere in the kitchen, so I didn't have to do too much searching. It was in a crate underneath some cardboard boxes, and I was able to unlock it. There was also a TNT factory, and I was able to get both TNT and fireworks. I never ended up using either of them though. And there was also some type of store nearby, and upstairs they had these cute little plushies of various mobs and characters, and of course you know I had to take them with me. And by walking around aimlessly, I was able to find the previously mentioned Kenneth's farmhouse, and after exploring around inside, there was nothing to move forward with the zombie cure yet again, and I was once again stumped. I tried an old Minecraft technique of hiding something behind the painting, but that didn't reveal anything. All that managed to happen was ruining a valuable masterpiece. I tried to get it back, but I couldn't. So, I'm sorry, Kenneth. But in front of his farmhouse, there was a military base that I explored, and to my surprise, they left fully operational weapons with their respective ammo. There were also some cars and tanks, but they required fuel that I did not have. There was also another book that I would go over later. I found a police station and collected anything valuable, including several more backpacks. Now if you can see, this is where I acknowledge my backpack problem. I had a full row of backpacks in my inventory, and this wouldn't be a problem if I had them properly sorted, but I could not be bothered to do that, and I would just fill each of them with whatever, just making life harder for future me. I also explored a nearby school. There was something noteworthy that I found here. It was a book which could possibly be the explanation for the zombie virus outbreak. Martha called in sick, Daryl disappeared, the news is full of all sorts of terrible things. I think the school is going to get shut down again, and I'll be out of work. Maybe it's for the better though. The volcano eruption has done enough destruction, and now this random outbreak of the flu. Weird times. And back home, I thought of a way to sort my many backpacks. I would place them all down on the floor and go and collect any similar items and then place them into the chest. And with me doing so much exploring and collecting, my limited chest space was now getting filled to the brim. So I needed to maximize the space and use crates instead, that way I could place more and have more space. I wanted to spruce up my house, so I placed the stolen room dividers and gave myself some wardrobe space. I also placed a security camera outside my house. I never used it to see through, but any zombies wanting to sneak me didn't know that. I also added some appliances to my kitchen to cook some gourmet meals later on. And after organizing everything, I went back to Kenneth's farmhouse to see if I could find something that I missed. And I didn't miss anything on the inside, but I definitely missed something on the outside. There was a little underground basement with some rations and another journal. Sophia, I can't stay here any longer. Bandits have already broken into the house, let in the undead. We are running out of food in the basement. I'm going to try to make it to the lab that I told you about. I'm going to give you directions to it. Destroy this book after you're finished, so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. The lab is in the sewer system. There is an access hatch on Olaf Street. Take 2 rights and you should make it to the lab door. Knock 3 times quick and 2 times slow, and then they will open the door. Tell them that you're with me. I believe in you. Good luck, Kenneth. With that clue in mind, back to the sewers we went. I followed instructions to the T. I entered from the hatch on Olaf Street, I took the 2 rights as instructed, and there it was. Just kidding, nothing once again, so I headed back home to read through all of the journals to see if there was something I was missing. In a book that I told you I would go over later, I found the secret information that I was looking for. I caved in the sewer tunnels, nobody will find me underground. Signed, Mr. Puck-Yu. So I once again headed back and started to break through the caved-in lab, but I was interrupted by a horde of zombies. I towered up to avoid them, and no matter how many I put down, there were 2 more to come fill their space. So from my safe space, I continued to break through and found the aforementioned lab. I made my way through the lab and went down this spiraling staircase and then down this eerily long and narrow hallway, and there was a conveniently left key card that allowed me to progress even further into the lab. And after clearing out some zombies in the security room, I was able to find some armor that offered way more protection than what I was currently wearing. And this armor was even better than netherite armor, and I think it looks pretty cool on top of that. Unfortunately though, nobody thought to leave an extra pair of boots, so I was forced to wear my iron boots still and just completely throw off the aesthetic. In the next room, I found the main generator which supplies power to the building, and if you can tell, there is currently no power or no light, but luckily we found a guide on what to do if this situation arises. Note, if the fuel runs out, the facility will go into lockdown. To restart the generator after lockdown has engaged, you will need to hit the manual fuel start lever in room 102. I continued to do some looting and eventually made my way to the backup generator, which restored power to the building and turned on the lights. And after that though, I was stuck. I couldn't find the key card needed to progress to the next room. The one I had only worked for the previous door. And once again, Minecraft logic really showed itself here. The previously clear lab now had zombies in it once again, and they tried to swarm me, but they were no match for my heavy artillery. I was a little mad that the zombies kept popping back up, but that turned into laughter once a baby zombie riding on the back of a chicken rounded the corner. I went ahead and searched through every container and every nook and cranny, leaving no stone unturned, and after that yielded nothing, I resorted to my primal urge to start breaking everything. I broke the bookshelves hoping they would reveal something like it did previously, but that didn't happen. I even tried breaking past the protected door, but that didn't work also. And without knowing what to do next and without any food, I was starting to get worried. I came so far and I was just going to end up malnourished and then eventually end up into a corpse. At this point, I was starting to feel really hopeless and really weak. I destroyed close to everything in order to find the key card to progress to the next room, and there was almost nothing left after my search to do so. My valiant efforts would be wasted. This was where the story ended. I would soon starve to death. I was not able to find a cure and save humanity, and the infinite amount of zombies would soon take over the world. Now, I was just being dramatic, but the reason for me not being able to progress was unfortunate to say the least. Now, if you notice, when I first entered the security room, there was an empty item frame, and this is where the key card to progress was supposed to be. I learned this from messaging the map and modpack creator, so I swear I'm not just coping. They told me to just go into creative and break the door, and I was more than happy to do so. Finally, I was able to go further in the lab. All that time trapped didn't leave me without my wits. I still made sure to barricade the room for safe exploring, and I continued to grab anything that wasn't nailed down, and I found plenty of journals foreshadowing what was to come. We got a visit from a federal agent yesterday. They reviewed the progress on our specimen and have told us to continue. I am concerned about the side effects though. Our specimen has begun to experience random fits of rage and lapse in mental coordination. We've had to sedate it more often as we proceed with treatment. I think we should take things slower, but the feds don't seem to agree. Project Alpha Overtime. Summary: use the process of reanimation and the H11 growth formula to develop a humanoid with the strength and health of 100 men. Test results 1, inconclusive. Test results 2, inconclusive. Test results 3, specimen has a noticeable increase in physical mass. Subnote 1, specimen continues to grow, requiring meat, raw having the best effect, to increase in size. Subnote 2, specimen has been given the name Patient 0. Subnote 3, Patient 0 is showing remarkable signs of muscle growth, physical size, and damage output. It has been moved to a research level in a larger containment vessel. Diary entry. My fellow scientists' pursuit in getting a final specimen is starting to concern me. They have thrown all moral, ethical, and even safety obligations out the window. I fear their judgment is clouded. Now this next part was accidentally spoiled to me by the map creator. They thought I was stuck in this room and not the previous one, so after looting and reading, I immediately knew what to do next. Now I like to think I would have figured this out on my own eventually, but who knows. The way to progress is actually pretty interesting, and that is through the drainage pipes for the shower. Now I had to make some trapdoors in order to push myself down to swim my way to the next area, and luckily I was able to get into the room and tower up before the zombies inside jumped in and swarmed me. That could have been the end of my quest for the vaccine. And in this room, I found the code for the chest back in the security room, so I made my way back for it, and it gave me a gun with its ammo and some grenades. Now for the amount of time I spent stuck down here, I was hoping there would be a little bit more than that though. I went back and I continued onwards. I crawled through this ventilation system and eventually managed to find a way out. I dealt with the swarm of scientists and researchers that were trapped in this room, and I found another journal entry. Things have gotten out of hand very quickly. What started as seemingly random spurts of anger has turned into nearly constant violence. Patient 0 has been confined to its cell and put under heavy guard. Our senior officer has contacted the bigwigs, yet to hear of a reply. Everyone is on edge. Sometimes when that thing pounds the glass like it does, I wonder if it can hold. I'm hoping we get the okay to put it down soon. I made my way down the hallway and wondered if I was ready for what was to come next. I stepped foot into the open room and looked around. That's when I encountered a zombie that was unlike anything I've seen until now.
That's right! I'm not ready!
But luckily they were too big to come chase after me. In good old American fashion, I showed him the right to bear arms and defend myself was still in effect. A few sniper shots put him down, or that's what I thought at least. He stood right back up and I was shocked. I continued to put lead into him, and on the third time they were finally put to rest. And upon his death, he dropped a powerful hammer, and a regular zombie passing by thought they were worthy enough to wield it.
What'd I just tell you?
There was another mutant zombie, so I'm not sure which one was supposed to be Patient 0, but they were both going to get put down regardless, and because of how dark the open room in front of me was, zombies were appearing out of thin air at an alarming rate, but I was more than happy to test out the new hammer and deal with them, and after barricading myself and using everything at my disposal to deal with them, I enderpearled past my fort and placed as many torches as I could to prevent some from spawning. And at the end of the room, I found the emergency stash locked away, needing a passcode. Before looking for the code, you know I had to grab all these gold blocks just sitting there behind it. There was no point in just leaving them. I began searching the room and found a book that had the second part of the chest code, so I would need to find any other ones for the full code. I also took these labeled crates as they had more rooms for items as opposed to a normal crate. There was also an additional journal trying its best to hide from me. This is it. For me and for everyone else. They promised that we could keep it under control, but no, I guess I should have questioned it. I should have kept it a secret, you know. I just wanted to do my job and ask no questions, keep my head down and sweep the floors, tend to the generator. Where did that get me, huh? Patient 0 is out. One experiment went wrong and boom, ripped itself out of prison. Now it's rampaging through the lab. Just a matter of time before it gets back to the surface or lets all the other infected to the surface. I managed to find both books containing the full code to the emergency vaccine chest. The zombies, knowing that I now possessed the code to unlock it, started swarming it, but I was able to access it anyway and found a stack of vaccines in another book. I would administer the cure to these zombies, but they were too impatient, so they must suffer the actions of their consequences. What? Now, early days of testing Patient Zero, we discovered that if he scratched anyone, they would begin exhibiting signs of some sort of infection. Luckily, we were able to quickly make up a vaccination from some of the compounds in Patient Zero's blood, using the cause to create a cure, just like how other vaccines are made. We aren't sure, but some of us are theorizing that more rigorous our tests become on Patient Zero, and the closer he gets to the end goal, the more potent of an infection he will be able to spread. It's not a big deal now though. We are all vaccinated and Patient Zero is in containment. We'll work out a way to get rid of the infection traits after our end goal is reached. And with no way to the surface from here, I had to retrace my steps in order to get out. So I left the same way I came in, dealing with any zombies along the way, and I made it back to my house with a newfound sense of accomplishment, knowing I had the cure to the zombie infestation in my hands. And before I went out and administered the cure to the infected, I of course had to put away everything. I upgraded the crates with the most stuff in them, all the while making sure I knew exactly where the vaccine was. I couldn't bear with myself if I lost it after all of my hard work. And after that was settled, I went to my neighbor's house to stick them with the vaccine. And we haven't spoken too much since I moved in next door. I figured that we would do some talking once they were human again and hopefully wouldn't try to cannibalize me. However, there was a major problem. When my neighbor and I were face to face, well actually arm's reach away, I was not able to give them the vaccine. I couldn't right click them with it and just dropping it would only make them pick it up. Perhaps they were too far gone and the vaccine was only for immediate use of the infection, and this just completely shattered me. All of my work to find this vaccine and it wasn't even going to be usable, so I knew what I had to do next. I went back home and used some iron and coal to make raw steel. I then smelted it to make hardened steel ingots, and that allowed me to make some riot armor boots, and now I was able to don a full set of riot armor. And with that, I was ready to go and find out how to achieve my new goal. And to be honest, I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I knew that once I saw it, I would be one step closer to my goal. And I wanted to confirm my suspicions with a particular building on the mountain outside the city, and I was correct. However, I didn't have enough information to fully explore the building, so I am going to blue ball you guys again, but I swear good things come to those who wait. I surveyed the landscape and found a building that looked promising, but it wasn't actually helpful to me. It was a bandit outpost, and in terms of weaponry, they were severely outmatched, so I slayed them and took their goods and continued on. And on a quick side note, I found this person who died on the toilet, and I couldn't think of too many worse ways to pass. Imagine people just find you dead with your pants wrapped around your ankles and your butthole not even wiped, just doo-doo sitting all up in there. And after finding nothing to progress my mission in the city, I headed back to the tall tower and I spotted something way in the distance, and I immediately felt a little tingle in my balls, and I knew that's what I was looking for, so that's where I headed to next. And when I arrived at the scene, it looked like what would be a crashed landing. And after surveying the scene, I found what used to be the pilot, and on them they had a backpack with some important information. It reads, "Top secret. If you are not the intended recipient of this message, reading the contents is a crime punishable by the full extent of the law. Delivered to General Bellsworth at the Hampton Military Base. The contents beyond this disclaimer are intended for the General's eyes only. Hi General. We have heard your cry for reinforcements, but I am afraid they aren't coming. Administration has made some tough decisions, and with the President's approval, we are ordering you to target the city and deploy Little Roger. We know you have tried your best to stop the infection, but it has gotten out of hand. Just about everyone is dead or converted anyway. The last few survivors won't know what hit them. I'm sorry it had to be you to bear this burden, but it is what had to be done. The first sequence of the digits to access the launch panel is the following: 1770. Good luck out there, General. Best, Admiral Heavensby. P.S. The rest of the digits are coming soon. Just for security's sake, I had them send them at different times. So I broadened my search area significantly to find the other launch digits, and I found some noteworthy locations. However, none of them progressed the goal I had in mind. I found the volcano that was mentioned in an earlier diary. I found a shrine dedicated to a god. I even found a camp that had some uninfected villagers surviving on the outskirts. I was sorry for what I was going to do later, but I already made up my mind. But by far my favorite thing I found was an underground bunker, and inside there was a journal that mentioned that cat girl hentais are the best, and they said they don't watch that stuff and they don't know what they're missing out on. My favorite one is, wait, what? I mean, who watches that stuff? Now, after a lot of searching, and I mean a lot of searching, I was not able to find the other sequence for the launch codes, and I wanted to get this video out to you guys within a reasonable amount of time, so I went back to the building that I've been teasing, and this building is actually a facility that houses a missile. So I was able to channel an immense amount of chakra into my fist and broke some of the doors down inside the building. And after doing so, I was able to launch the missile Little Roger. And looking into the city, I was a little disappointed with the blast radius, so I decided to take matters into my own hands. And somehow I was granted the ability to fly and drop literal nukes. I was scared the first time, but I grew used to it and played some more. And I was not trying to destroy my house and items that I worked so hard for, but that didn't end up happening, and eventually my game crashed. But there we have it. That was the Cursed Walking mod pack on its custom map. I tried to leave out a lot of its content in case you wanted to experience it for yourself, and for $5 I had a considerable amount of fun on this map, and I highly recommend you to go check it out yourself. But if you're still here, I really appreciate you for watching the video until the end. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. But if there's any questions, comments, concerns, or snarky remarks, leave them below and I'll get back to you. Thank you once again, and have a great rest of your day.